All right. So I just decided this is pretty fresh on my brain. Obviously, this past weekend I had three athletes competing, one in jujitsu, two in boxing, and the weekend did not go as you know anybody competing in the sport would like. Right? You want the wins. Had a draw, had a loss, had another loss, or just didn't get the win or get a podium. And I think it's easy to judge your performance based off of win or lose. But I think the missing piece is that reflection. If you don't reflect on, where you came from, and sometimes it can really kind of put you in a place to where you just think that um maybe I'm not cut out for this, right? So you start thinking in the wrong the wrong way. You start not the wrong way, but you just have a negative way of viewing it instead of it being a learning experience. I think we kind of get caught up in the whole maybe having an undefeated streak, or we might get caught up in, oh, I did everything that I possibly could have. And yeah, you probably did everything that you possibly could have during your training camp, everything leading up to it. But at the same time, you know, that just may have not been enough for that outcome that you wanted. And that's perfectly okay. If you're okay with saying that, you did give it your all, you did do everything that you possibly could have leading up to it. And, um, you're learning from the experience. So I think the main point that I want to get across here is to not allow it to, one, define who you are and how you're going to be perceived. Because the main thing, once again, is how you perceive yourself. Do you perceive yourself as somebody that will step up to the plate and accept the challenge that comes with competing in this arena, right? Because there are a ton of people who decide not to put themselves out there and compete. They'll just stay recreationally and do things because they can't handle the mental challenge of being exposed per se, um, or just put into a position to where they could potentially lose and they can't mentally handle that. So if you are already putting yourself in a position to where you can lose, one, you're definitely mentally tough enough. So don't don't let anybody try and tell you that you need to build your mental toughness even more. And especially if you're in a combat sport and you're already punching somebody else in the face, you're mentally tough enough, or you're pretty much choking somebody out in jujitsu. You're mentally tough enough. You don't need anybody to tell you that or try to reinforce mental toughness by doing something else that's more challenging. You're doing enough already by participating in that sport. So know that you're already mentally tough. But this just mainly goes to like out to athletes in general and anybody that's doing something that is outside of the norm and you're pushing your capabilities. Like you're challenging yourself. That is something to already be proud of first and foremost in itself. Doing the thing, taking the steps to do the thing day by day, and then stepping into the thing and risking failing at that outcome that you want, right? Because we like to pad it as, there is no such thing as failure, right? Unless you quit. But of course, when it comes to a sport, win or lose, we look at losing as failure because you didn't accomplish the goal of winning. But when we take a broader perspective and a more, holistic viewpoint on that, it's you still won in the category of you put yourself out there and you stepped up to the challenge. And I'll say this too. There are a few other things that go behind that. When I said if you did everything that you possibly could have, this is where the reflection piece comes in. Did you do everything that you could have possibly done leading up to this? Yes. And I say this by meaning everything that was within your knowledge at the time, not what you learned later on and just like, oh, I should have done that. No, everything that you had in your knowledge, or to your knowledge at the time, did you do all that? Yes, you did. Okay. You don't need to beat yourself up about that. Did you push yourself as hard as you possibly could have every time with the situation that you have going on? Because I have quite a few athletes that also have jobs that they have family that they have to take care of, and they're participating in this sport. So with everything that you have going on, did you do everything that you possibly could have done and push as hard as you possibly could have pushed? Yes. Okay. Be proud of that and move on. Don't beat yourself up about that or say you need to, develop some type of uh, toughness, some extra toughness, or do some type of thing to build more toughness, or a stronger mind. Like, you pushed as hard as you possibly could have with the resources, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, that you had at the time. So be proud of that. And then the final thing is, are you pursuing this thing because it's something that you actually want? Does it align with who you want to become and who you say that you are? And if you can honestly say yes, then, you don't need to question whether or not like it's the right thing to do. You need to just reflect and see, okay, where can I learn from this experience? What adjustments do I need to make moving forward, and go from there. But if you ask that question and you're just like, I don't know, maybe you need to do some reflecting on your values and, maybe tap into those a little bit more, maybe look into your why a little bit more. And then, only once you can say that, like, no, this is something that I really want, and this does align with who I say I am and my values, and cool, keep going forward with it. And again, this is not just for sport, but this is in any endeavor that you're trying to accomplish something that is out of the ordinary. When you have to push yourself either mentally, physically, or even emotionally, or a combination of all of those. Um, but yeah, I don't want to get too long winded with this, but I just wanted to put that message out there because it really hit me hard. Like when I was leaving that, because I was just reflecting and thinking as I left the fights. And then as I just read a message from one of my other clients that competed over the weekend. Um, and I just know from my own standpoint, when I didn't do well in these recreational competitions that I participated in, when it came to CrossFit or weightlifting, or even as a coach, when I didn't feel like I stepped up to the plate and helped my clients, my athletes, accomplish the feat that they wanted to, then I had to reflect and start questioning myself and ask these same questions. So it's not just something that I'm kind of pulling out of, thin air. These are questions that I asked myself, and then just move forward with that and be proud of the effort that we put in, that I put in, that you put in, and keep going forward and just make adjustments and keep learning on the way. And again, having fun with it. If you're not enjoying this process, then why are you even doing it in the first place? So yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that note. Hopefully that resonated with you. If it did, leave a comment down in the comment section below. If you have anything to say about what I just said, put it down in the comments. Let's start a discussion around it when it comes to this mindset and pushing yourself beyond your limits, and approaching this in a more healthy way, instead of that we got to beat ourselves up mentally in order to accomplish great things. We don't have to do that, and that's not a healthy way to sustain it. It is not sustainable. There are some people who may take that what do we call, like, negative self-talk. They'll do that to try and push their performance to another level, or to push their mindset to another level. And that may be for some people who are completely downtrodden and broken, and they need to do that for their own sake. But if you know that you're not that person, like you're not in that space, and you can kind of navigate your mindset pretty well, don't feed into that whole entire negative self-talk to boost yourself up. Positive reinforcement, more often than not, is the best way, and reflection on things that you can make adjustments on to improve is the best way to move forward and keep moving towards the things that you want to accomplish. All right, so I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but yeah, thanks for listening. Leave a comment down in the comment section below, and let's start a discussion about this. All right, so see you in the next one.